There was not a great deal of optimism coming into the season surrounding Taijuan Walker, and understandably so. The $18 million man had looked like a sunk cost on the Phillies' books to this point, vastly underwhelming the expectations after he was brought to Philadelphia. But there are some signs of life as Walker has looked like his old self and performed strong on the mound through his first two starts of the season. I want to talk about what's going right with Taijuan Walker, if this is sustainable, and what this means for the rest of the Phillies rotation. That has been a strong topic of conversation. Obviously, we know in the offseason, bringing in guys like Jesus Luzardo, having a guy like Andrew Painter just waiting to get to the majors here, there's a lot of moving parts to this Phillies team, and I did not even acknowledge Ranger Suarez still on the injured list there. So a lot to get into, and I do want to start right with Taijuan Walker. But before I do that, I do want to remind you guys one more time to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. That at this point in time, 37.2% of you guys watching these videos, that's all that have subscribed to this point. So we want to get those numbers up, get this Phillies Digest family growing, and it helps us out a ton there. Now, to talk about Taijuan Walker specifically here, this is coming on the heels of 4 2/3 innings pitched, just 5 hits, 0 earned runs allowed. Did give up 3 walks, but struck out 5. Also pitched out of a couple jams in the 3rd inning. He left the bases loaded, got out of there with, once again, no runs allowed. And this is now 2 consecutive strong performances. That for Taijuan Walker specifically, he is one of 4 pitchers in the league with 10+ innings pitched and a 0.00 ERA. That is perfect stuff there. And I'm not saying that that will be the Walker experience from here on out, but it's awesome to see him perform like this, man. And from a human being level, I feel great for the dude. That I have a really high tolerance for guys like Taijuan Walker who continue to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, continue to go compete, and don't make excuses for themselves. That we saw Walker all last season basically get hit around every time that he was thrown out there on the mound, and to acknowledge exactly what those stats were from last season's perspective. He pitched in 19 games, just 83.2 innings, allowed 24 home runs, 107 hits. That's 11.5 hits per 9 innings, a 7.10 ERA, a 1.7 whip. Not what you want to see whatsoever. But once again, what I respect about Taijuan is he continued to just take it on the chin. Not once did I hear him make excuses or go out of his way or feel sorry for himself or anything like that. It was all taking things head on. I don't know what happened. I felt fine physically today. I threw my best stuff, just did not have it. It's really frustrating to me. And you know what? We're seeing him bounce back a little bit. To kind of give a write-up on a couple other factors that I did want to pull up, shout out to Crossing Broad and my guy Kyle Pagan for this write-up, where our very own Luke Arcaney writes for as well. And this is about Walker. He now hasn't given up a run in 10.2 innings pitched this year. Only 4 other pitchers in the MLB can say that. The Phillies are also 2-0 in his starts. 2 straight scoreless outings. His velo topped off at 93, and I will note I'm pretty sure I've seen some 94 at least in there. He's got the curveball working again. Absolutely true here. This time last year, through 2 starts, he had given up 9 runs, 3 home runs, 13 hits, and had a 6.39 ERA in 12.2 innings pitched. Thanks to the Phillies' bats, he was 2-0, but we all knew it was a train wreck waiting to happen. And that is not the version of Taijuan Walker that we've seen this year. That this is a guy who's not only survived his innings pitched, but given this team a damn good chance to win. They won last night's game. Without a strong performance from Taijuan Walker, they straight up don't get that because the bullpen has not held up their end of the bargain as well. And we saw that on full display. I was excited to see Joe Ross get a little bit more of a high leverage opportunity. That is a guy I think had shown enough to say he was deserving of a chance, and he got smashed for a home run. Absolutely smashed for a home run to tie up that game. Shout out to Trey Turner for sending one over the wall as well to ultimately find a way for the Phillies to win, and Jose Alvarado for shutting things down at the tail end there. The bottom line is a win's a win, but that does not happen without 4 2/3 scoreless of Taijuan Walker at the start of the season. Now, to get into the big picture conversation here, there's a lot going on with the Phillies rotation. And we know some of the big ticket arms, Zack Wheeler looking like the ace that we know him to be. Jesus Luzardo has been incredible in his beginning of his Phillies tenure, been really impressed. And I am recording this before Game 3 of the Phillies and Braves series, so hopefully he does not make me sound bad by having a blow-up performance there. But beyond that, beyond Luzardo, beyond Zack Wheeler, that we know what we got in Christopher Sanchez at this point, a guy who's taken his game to new heights. Aaron Nola, I know this is not the time to gas up the Aaron Nola stock, and he certainly has taken his blows through the early parts of the season, but we also know who Nola is at this point in this game, and I'm confident that he will settle in to be, at worst, a high-level rotational arm there, and at best, one of the better pitchers in the entire major leagues, that he very well can be in that conversation for stretches. I'm sure he's going to be just fine in the longer scale. That is sort of the four that are locked in there. Once again, it is Zack Wheeler, it's Jesus Luzardo, it is Aaron Nola, and it is Christopher Sanchez. That fifth slot is where things get interesting. Now, we have Taijuan Walker, obviously starting the season in that way, and I think in an ideal world that he does hang on to this for a little bit. But the fact that he is performing well sort of gives some flexibility for this Phillies team. Ranger Suarez will be back soon, and I do think is going to start his rehab process, begin throwing again in the relatively near future. When that happens, there's no doubt in my mind that even with Taijuan playing well, Ranger is the superior pitcher there, and I do think he will ultimately be thrown into that mix here. I've also been a big proponent and will continue to bang the table for the pros of a six-man rotation. This kind of circles in to the Andrew Painter conversation and when he is ready. But what I think is important about the Andrew Painter conversation is he's not being brought up with the expectation of we need you to carry this team or be a certified top-end starter here. I want it to be a pretty, pressureless situation when he does ultimately make that major league appearance here. And there will be years to come where we are talking about Andrew Painter with some high-level expectation on his play. That's just not how I want him to start his major league career. And I think the fact that you're not having to bring him in as a solution currently is a really good thing from a mental standpoint, from the overall team standpoint. And I think that this gives a lot of flexibility within the Phillies overall. And by the way, Walker's teammates are absolutely noticing as well. I first want to start off with the quote from Bryce Harper, who was asked about things, and the article writes, "Through 2 starts, Walker has pitched 10 and 2/3 scoreless innings. He won't finish with an ERA of 0.0, 1.1, or 2.0, or likely 3.0, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters currently is that with Ranger Suarez out, Walker is filling a role for this Phillies team and doing it capably." Quote, "It's been great," Bryce Harper said. "He's got the confidence in his ability again, and it's fun to watch. 94 ties, a lot better than 89. He's worked his butt off this offseason. After his last start, I went up to him and told him I'm happy for him. He's been through a lot, signed a deal with us to come here, had a couple great years in New York, tough last year for him, and he's finally rounding the corner. I thought he threw great." Walker retired the side 1-2-3 in the bottom of the first with 2 strikeouts. He hit Sean Murphy with 2 outs in the second and allowed a single to Brian De La Cruz, but escaped with a Jared Kelenic groundout. The Braves loaded the bases after 2 quick outs in the third, but Walker jammed Riley for a foul out to first base. He induced a 5-4-3 double play after the leadoff single to fourth, combined with Ruiz to avoid damage to the fifth. And Rob Thomson also taking note of the strong performance of Taijuan Walker, stating, "There was a thought this winter that the Phillies might cut ties with Walker despite owing him $18 million in 2025 and $18 million in 2026. Even with their added starting pitching depth, it's a good thing they didn't." Quote, "He's always been upbeat, but there is a little bit of a difference, and that's understandable to be," manager Rob Thomson said. "Last year was rough. I mean, it was rough. I don't really know how a person could go through something like that. That tells you a lot about him. If you're any type of leader at all, you love the people that you're around. It's innate. It's in your kids. It's like your kids. So when that stuff happens, bad or good, there's the feelings that come out of it for me. So I'm glad he's on the good side of that. Walker is holding a rotation spot until Suarez is ready to return from a back injury. Suarez will begin a rehab assignment Thursday with Clearwater and is expected to pitch 3 innings. The lefty will likely need at least 3 rehab starts, maybe 4 after pitching just 5 innings in the Grapefruit League games. And I think probably the best case scenario for Taijuan Walker, what he is showing to be capable of, is he can be this kind of on-the-shelf arm. That unfortunately injuries do happen. And as much as in an ideal world that we can lock in the clear rotation that we're going to have every single outing, that is just not life here. That there is a fairly high chance that once in a while Aaron Nola can't go for a start, or Christopher Sanchez has a blister or messed up a muscle, or whatever the case may be. Things happen over the span of an offseason, and having Ty as sort of that 6th guy, maybe even 7th guy, depending on how you fully look at this, that you can sort of punch him into those situations here. He's done his job by giving 2 really strong performances to this Phillies team. This won't be the last time we see Taijuan, and I honestly think there's a decent chance that they try and milk this a little bit, that if Ty continue to, pitch at this level, that you do give him free reign for the long term. Everything feels a little bit more important because it's the present and we're at the early part of the season. But in the grand scheme of things, when we flash forward to when the playoffs are here and when the postseason, we're talking about Red October, all these things, we're not going to remember Taijuan Walker throwing these April and May innings here and there. So I do think there's a bit of an innings eater tagline that you could attach to him if the Phillies do lean that direction. But nonetheless, my biggest takeaway to ultimately reflect on, I'm happy for Taijuan Walker, man. Like, he has been through a lot. He has earned his stripe, and he's gotten beaten down in this city with this team, and he continued to battle through and came out on top. There's not a lot of guys that are cut that way, built that way, or were able to dig themselves out of that. Like, we're talking about legitimately his fastball being 5 miles per hour faster this year from last year. That's real work that obviously the results are speaking for, and Ty deserves the utmost credit for all of that. So shout out to Taijuan Walker for giving this team a little bit of a pulse through the first start of the season. Shout out to you guys for tuning into this video here. And just one more time, do want to remind you guys once again to make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. Once again, just 37.2% of you guys watching this video right now, that's all that have subscribed to this point. So make sure you're hitting that button, dropping a like on this video, your comments below. I'll be back talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.